Hey, I'm Sophia. Before we start, go grab a snack and get comfortable for a bit. These stories take their time, and they are told the way I'd tell a friend late at night. I really hope you enjoy them. This story has one update on it and my own opinion at the end. Comment and tell me if you agree. Let's begin. When my family laughed at my career, I built a business that made them take notice. I didn't say anything at first when my dad walked into my new studio, stopped dead in the doorway, and whispered, "Holy hell." He tilted his head back to read the sign on the far wall. My logo, 3 meters wide, lit up in soft white. My mom's hand was on his arm, my brother Liam and his wife hovering just behind them. The smell of fresh paint and coffee hung in the air, and my staff were pretending not to stare as my family, who had called this Emma's little hobby, stepped onto the polished concrete floor of the headquarters of the company they'd once laughed at. I watched them take it in. The wall of colorful planners and journals, the packing benches lined with orders, the glass-walled office with my name on the door. My heart was hammering in my chest so loudly I could feel it in my throat. My palms were sweating, and I kept wiping them against my black jeans. "So," I said, forcing my voice to stay steady, "welcome to not a real career, I guess." Dad's eyes snapped to my face. For once, he didn't have a smart reply. It was a Sunday lunch 3 years earlier when all of this really started. The exact day my family decided my career was a punchline. We were at my parents' place, the same brick house I grew up in, the table covered with mismatched plates and too much food. Liam was talking about a promotion at his accounting firm, my cousins were comparing corporate grad programs, and I had spent the whole meal rehearsing one sentence in my head. I'm going to quit my admin job and focus on my design business full-time. A bit of background. I've always been the artsy one. The kid who doodled in the margins, who turned every school project into a poster, who spent more time on the title page than the actual assignment. My parents are good people, but very practical. Dad's a mechanic who's been at the same workshop for 28 years. Mom's a nurse. They grew up measuring success in steady paychecks and in used sick leave. Their dream for me was simple. Go to uni, get a stable job, stay there until I retire. I tried. I did the whole sensible degree thing, business with a marketing major, because it sounded close enough to creativity without making my dad's eye twitch. I got a junior admin job at a logistics company out of uni. On paper, I was doing everything right. In reality, I was dying a little inside every time I color-coded someone else's spreadsheet instead of drawing. Around the same time, I fell down a YouTube rabbit hole of day in the life of a small business owner videos. There were girls my age running sticker shops, selling digital planners, making full-time incomes designing things from their iPads. I remember thinking, if they can do it, why not me? So I started an Etsy shop called Brightside Paper. I designed printable planners, to-do lists, habit trackers. Then I moved into physical ones, spiral-bound journals I got printed in small batches. I'd work 9 to 5 at the logistics job, come home, eat something over the sink, and then work on orders until midnight. My tiny bedroom became half-storage unit, with boxes stacked to the ceiling. For a while, it didn't matter that I wasn't making much money. Getting a notification for a $12 digital download from someone in Canada felt like winning the lottery. I told my parents about it in passing. "Oh yeah, I'm selling some art online," and they did the polite nod and changed the subject thing. Then one night, while my mom was watching TV and I was cutting thank you cards at the kitchen table, Dad came in from work, tossed his keys down, and said, "You're still doing that coloring in stuff?" "It's design," I said. "And yeah, I've actually made a bit of money from it." "How much?" he asked. I hesitated. "A few hundred this month." He snorted. "You spend more than that on printer ink." It stung, but I brushed it off. I told myself he just didn't get it. Fast forward to that Sunday lunch. I'd been running Brightside Paper for a year and a half. The shop had grown slowly, but steadily. I'd hit a tipping point where the business was making as much as my admin job, and I was one meltdown away from burning out, juggling both. After talking it through with my therapist and some friends, I'd made the decision. I was going to quit the job and give myself a year to see if I could make the business truly sustainable. Worst case, I'd go back to an office. I waited until after dessert, when everyone was still at the table, leaning back in their chairs. My heart was pounding. I pressed my fingers into my thighs to stop them from shaking. So, I began. I have some news. Liam rolled his eyes. You're not pregnant, are you? Mum swatted his arm. Let her talk. I took a deep breath. I'm resigning from my job next month. I'm going to focus on my design business full-time. There was a beat of silence. Then it was like someone had hit play on a laugh track. Liam actually laughed out loud. Wait, like the little diary thing? It's not a diary thing, I said, cheeks burning. It's planners and journals and digital products. I'm making steady income. I've run the numbers. If I dedicate full-time hours. Dad cut me off. You're leaving a proper job to sell scribble books on the internet? Mum winced. John, he plowed on. In this economy? Are you serious, Em? Do you think these influencer kids make real money? It's not a career. It's a phase. My cousin chimed in helpfully. Can't you just keep it as a side hustle? That's what everyone does. I felt like I was shrinking in my chair. I've been doing both for over a year, I said quietly.
I'm exhausted.
And it's not just scribble books. I have repeat customers, wholesale interest, a mailing list of 4,000 people. Liam shook his head, smiling in that patronizing way you reserve for toddlers in capes. You are way too smart to waste your degree on crafting. Dad's final blow. When this doesn't work out, don't expect us to bail you out. You wanted to play business. You live with the consequences. I held it together through the rest of lunch. I smiled. Did the dishes listen to Mum say, he's just worried about you? Like that made it less humiliating. I went home, shut my bedroom door, and sobbed into my pillow until my eyes hurt. But underneath the hurt was something else. A spark of anger. Not spiteful rage, exactly. More like a stubborn, quiet fire. I am so tired of everyone assuming I am incapable of knowing what's good for me. So I gave myself that year. It was brutal. Without the safety net of my monthly paycheck, every order mattered. I cut my personal spending to the bone. No new clothes, no takeaway, no nights out unless someone else insisted on paying. I learned more about bookkeeping, tax, and shipping logistics than my business degree had ever touched. I redesigned my entire product line to increase margins. The turning point came 6 months in from the weirdest place, TikTok. I made a 30-second video at 1 a.m. one night, half delirious from packaging orders. It was nothing special. Just me speed packing a bright yellow morning reset pad with a voiceover about how I'd quit my job to do this full-time, and my dad thought I was insane. I posted it and went to bed. When I woke up, my phone had exploded. The video had gone viral. Hundreds of thousands of views. Comments from people saying, I'd buy this, and where's this from? And my family thinks the same. You're inspiring me. My shop had over 1,000 new orders waiting. My website nearly crashed. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the screen, alternating between laughing and crying. That week, I worked 18-hour days. I roped in my best friend Mia to help pack. My tiny bedroom looked like a fulfillment center. There was tape in my hair and bruises on my shins from bumping into boxes. I burned my finger on the heat sealer. I forgot to eat until Mia shoved toast into my hand. And still, despite the chaos, I felt something I'd never felt in my corporate job, alive. The viral spike settled into a steady climb. The TikTok audience turned into email subscribers, then repeat customers. I launched new products. A small boutique reached out about stocking my planners. Then another. Then a big online retailer approached for a wholesale deal. A year after that awful Sunday lunch, Brightside Paper had cleared 6 figures in revenue. I hired my first part-time employee. I moved operations out of my bedroom into a tiny shared studio. My family's tune shifted.
Slightly.
Dad still called it your little shop, but he stopped making direct fun of it. Mum would occasionally ask, do you need any help with the books? In a tentative voice, like she was touching a bruise. Liam mostly ignored it, occasionally sending me, You might like this posts from corporate meme accounts, as if I secretly missed the 9 to 5. I didn't shove my success in their faces. Partly because I didn't want to be that person. Partly because a small, stupid part of me was still hoping they'd ask on their own. Hey, how's your business going? They didn't. So when my lease ended on the tiny shared studio and I signed for my own space, a light-filled unit in an old warehouse with enough room for packing, storage, and an office, I decided I wasn't going to hide it. I designed actual printed invitations because of course I did, that said. You are invited to the grand opening of Brightside Paper Studio. Come see what Emma's not a real career looks like now. Yes, I was petty enough to include the quote. Yes, I smiled when I slid my parents' envelope into their mailbox. Which brings us back to that day, standing in the doorway of my studio while my dad stared at the logo on the wall. You did all this? He asked finally, voice weirdly small. Yep, I said. No corporate overlords in sight. Mum walked slowly along the shelves, running her fingers over the spines of journals. People buy all these? She asked. Yeah, I replied. Last year we shipped to 32 countries. Liam whistled under his breath. How many staff do you have? 3 part-time. Soon to be 4. I nodded toward the packing benches, where Mia waved. Plus contractors for design and photography. Dad cleared his throat. So, it's doing okay then. I looked him dead in the eye. It's paying me more than my old job ever did. And I actually sleep at night. He opened his mouth, closed it, shoved his hands in his pockets. For the first time in my life, it looked like he didn't know what to say. We did a little ribbon cutting. My staff clapped. My parents took photos on their phones like it was my first day of school. At one point, I caught Dad talking to Mia, asking how long she'd been working here, what her hours were like. He was doing that thing where he tries to sound casual, but is actually deeply nosy. Later, while everyone else was touring the storage room, Mum pulled me aside. I'm proud of you, she said quietly. I know we weren't very supportive at the start. We just didn't understand. It scared us. I swallowed around the lump in my throat. You didn't have to understand it to not make fun of it. She flinched. You're right, she said. And I'm sorry. I believed her. Dad never gave me a formal apology. But a week later, he sent me a screenshot. It was a Facebook post he'd written with a photo he'd taken at the studio, my logo in the background, me laughing with a box in my arms. The caption read, Proud of my daughter for building her own business from scratch. Brightside Paper, if you need a planner, this is the place. I stared at it for a long time. Then I wrote back, Thanks, Dad. It wasn't perfect. It didn't erase the years of casual dismissal, but it was something. At some point, my success stopped being about making them eat their words and started being about me living a life that actually fit. The fact that they eventually had to sit in a room with my name on the wall and go, oh, this is real, was just a satisfying bonus. All right, quick intermission to throw some commentary confetti on this whole situation. First of all, Emma's family's reaction at that Sunday lunch is, unfortunately, a textbook example of how older, more traditional households handle anything that doesn't come with a company ID badge and a predictable tax bracket. The combination of logistics job equals real and design business equals coloring in is so familiar it might as well be a national sport. What sticks out most is how little curiosity they had. No one asked, hey, show us your shop, or how much are you making? They went straight to mocking. That's not concern. That's insecurity dressed as practical wisdom. Dads, when this doesn't work out, don't expect us to bail you out. Speech wasn't a boundary. It was a preemptive, I told you so attempt. Meanwhile, Emma's doing everything responsible under the surface. Running numbers, testing the business while employed, cutting her spending, seeking therapy. She's actually managing risk better than half the people in that room. And then TikTok enters like a chaotic fairy godmother, waving an algorithmic wand over her late-night packing session. The fact that her dad's derisive remark becomes part of the brand story is poetic. You want to be dismissive? Congratulations, you're free marketing now. The studio opening is honestly the most satisfying kind of revenge. Not yelling, not rubbing it in, just handing people the undeniable physical evidence of your success and letting their own words echo in their heads. The petty little line on the invitation?
Deserved.
That is what we call a controlled burn. Of course, no story like this ends clean. Parental pride enters late, apologies are imperfect, and scars linger. But the power shift is undeniable. She no longer needs their permission to be who she is. Update 9 months later. Hey again. I didn't expect to be back with more drama, but apparently, when you build a successful business after your family laughed at you, life hands you extra plot lines. So, since the studio opening, Brightside Paper has grown more than I ever imagined. We picked up a huge wholesale deal with a national bookstore chain. One of my designs got featured in a lifestyle magazine. I hired a full-time operations manager because I was starting to forget what sunlight looked like. And with success comes interesting family behavior. It started small. An aunt messaged me asking if I could just quickly make a logo for her friend's dog grooming business for exposure. I sent her my actual design rate. She never replied. A cousin asked if I could hire her teenager for school holidays. I genuinely tried, but she lasted 3 days before deciding packing orders was boring and ghosting. The big one, though, was Liam. We were at another family lunch, different Sunday, same table, same mismatched plates. He waited until Mom got up to bring dessert before leaning in and saying, "So, I've been thinking about a career change." "Okay," I said cautiously. He cleared his throat. "I'm bored at the firm. I've got management experience, I know numbers. And your business is basically a startup, right? You could use someone to take it to the next level." I blinked. "Are you asking for a job?" He gave me that grin that used to make teachers forgive his late homework. "I'm saying we could be a power team. You handle the artsy stuff, I handle the strategy. Family empire." 3 years ago, I would have jumped at the chance for legitimacy, for his approval. Now, all I could hear was him laughing about my little diary thing. I took a breath. "We're actually in a good place strategically," I said. "And I already have an accountant and a business coach. I don't have room for another senior salary right now." His face tightened. "You're making 6 figures and you don't have room?" "Revenue isn't the same as profit," I said. "I'm paying staff, rent, inventory. I'm not going to risk the business by overhiring just because someone wants out of their job." "So that's a no," he said flatly. "It's a no right now," I replied. "If we grow to a point where I genuinely need a CFO, I'd consider you as one of several candidates. But I'm not building a role around you." He leaned back, scoffing.
Wow.
"Success has gone to your head." Dad, who'd been pretending not to listen, suddenly spoke up. "She's right," he said. "You can't just jump ship and expect her to fix your life for you." The entire table went silent. Liam stared at him, stunned. I think I did too. After lunch, Dad helped me carry leftovers to the car. "I hope I didn't overstep," he muttered. But he needed to hear it. "You weren't wrong," I said. "I'm not a safety net just because the business is doing well." He nodded, then added almost shyly, "Your mom keeps taking your planners to work. Half the nurses use them now. They love them." I smiled. That's the best marketing I could ask for. A few months after that, I got another message, this time from Mom. She'd been asked to speak at a small community event about women in different careers and wanted to know if I'd come as a guest speaker. "They want someone who didn't take the traditional route," she typed. "I thought of you. Is that okay?" I stared at my phone, remembering her anxious face at that first lunch, begging me to keep the job for security. "Yeah," I wrote back. "It's more than okay." The event was held in a local hall, ugly fluorescent lights, trestle tables, the works. Mom introduced me as my daughter, Emma, who runs her own design company, and I saw her eyes shine with actual pride, not forced politeness. I told the room the truth, that it's terrifying to bet on yourself, that I almost quit a dozen times, that I still have days when I feel like I'm playing CEO dress up. I also said that sometimes the people who love you most will be the ones least able to see your potential, because your ambition scares them. Afterward, a teenager with blue hair came up to me and whispered, "My parents say art isn't a real career." Hearing you talk, it makes me feel less crazy. I almost cried on the spot. Later that night, I got home, kicked off my shoes, and opened Instagram. I saw that Dad had shared another photo from my studio with the caption, "Anyone need Christmas gifts? Check out my daughter's business. She's worked her butt off for this." If you're expecting "and we all lived happily ever after and no one ever doubted me again," that's not how it goes. There are still moments, snide comments from extended family, weird assumptions about my time, because you work for yourself. Liam and I are polite but not close. I still sometimes wish my family had believed in me sooner. But here's the thing, I don't need them to, not anymore. I don't stay up at night rehearsing speeches to convince them I'm legitimate. Their opinions sit in the passenger seat of my life now, not the driver's. And every time I walk into my studio, see my staff laughing over labels, watch an order get taped up and sent to some stranger across the world, I think, this is real. I made this. They can see it or not. It doesn't change the fact that it exists. The business isn't perfect. Neither is my family. But I have built something that is mine, something that turned their laughter into background noise. That alone makes every late night and every dismissive comment worth it. Okay, let's gather the characters in this saga and hand out some metaphorical report cards. Emma, Opie, she's the quiet rebel archetype done right. What I love most is that she's not portrayed as this fearless girl boss who just believed in herself and walked into success with perfect eyeliner and a vision board. She cried into her pillow, questioned herself, cut her spending, and did the painfully unglamorous work of learning freight rates and tax deductions. That's what real entrepreneurship looks like. Less inspirational quotes, more tape stuck to your elbow at 2 a.m. The key moment is that she doesn't let humiliation at that lunch freeze her. She channels that sting into discipline, not pure spite. The petty line on the invite? That's just a little seasoning. Dad. Honestly, he's the most interesting transformation here. He starts out as Exhibit A in practical to the point of cruelty. His scribble books and play business comments are brutal and absolutely shaped how small Emma felt. But unlike some story parents who stay cartoon villain forever, he actually evolves. He doesn't give the big sweeping apology, but his behavior changes. Asking questions at the studio, posting proud Facebook bragging, backing her up against Liam. In real life, this is often what remorse looks like. Awkward, partial, expressed in actions rather than eloquent speeches. He was wrong, and he is slowly doing the work of being less wrong. Mum. She's the classic middle person, torn between fear and love. Her initial reaction is passive. He's just worried about you, which smooths over real hurt. But she's also the first to explicitly apologize and actively use her social capital to boost Emma's business, showing planners at work, inviting her to speak. She's not perfect, but she's willing to update her beliefs, which is huge.
Liam, Liam.
CEO of Smug. At the start, he's the golden child with the real job, treating his sister's dream like a quirky phase. The delicious twist is when the corporate prince wants off the treadmill and suddenly remembers his sister's not a real career, looks suspiciously like freedom. His attempt to slide into a custom-made executive role screams entitlement. When she says no and he accuses her of letting success go to her head, that's projection in 4K. He doesn't get a redemption arc here. What he gets is a boundary. And honestly, that's better. Some people don't need a big reconciliation scene. They need to occasionally stew in the consequences of underestimating you. Extended family, aunts, cousins, a Greek chorus of "can you just do this for free?" and side hustle energy. They serve as background noise that amplifies the main dynamic. Everyone loves a dreamer once the dream is obviously profitable. Big picture, this story isn't just family laughed, girl built empire, family groveled. It's more nuanced. Family laughed, girl quietly built something substantial, family adjusted on a lag. The real win isn't dad's Facebook posts or mom's proud introductions. It's that Emma now makes decisions from a place of self-trust instead of desperately trying to audition for their approval. The business is the vehicle, but the destination is that deep, quietly revolutionary thought. I know what I'm doing with my life. Even if you don't get it,